So today I'll be continuing with my schedule discussion and point spread prediction videos. Today I'll be doing Louisville. Uh, so I know Louisville had a pretty good season last year and won 10 games, but I don't really think they were really as good as their record showed they were because uh, they lost to horrible team, Pittsburgh, who was one of the 10 worst teams in the Power Five last year. And they actually lost to them pretty bad. That was their first loss. And then they got to 10-1, and then they lost their last three games of the season. They lost to Kentucky. Well, it's a rivalry, so that made so much sense. Well, I know it's a rivalry, but it's not like the Iron Bowl. And Kentucky was only around the middle of the SEC last year. They weren't anywhere close to the SEC's top teams. Mm, so that kind of makes me think that if Louisville would have been in the SEC, they would have just been an average looking team. Mm, And then uh, they played Florida State in the ACC championship, and Florida State was having to use a third string quarterback in that game, and they couldn't hardly get a first down. And then Louisville still couldn't outscore them to beat them. Uh, so that really just showed me how bad the ACC really was last year, and that they had no business having a team in the college football playoff, which became even more obvious later on. Uh, and then in the bowl game, they lost to USC, who had five losses last year and was missing Caleb Williams and some other really good players on their team. And I know USC played their best game of the season in that game, but two touchdowns was kind of a big loss for Louisville. Mm, Now, I will give them some credit though, because they did beat Notre Dame last year, and that was a pretty good win. And they got a really easy schedule last year, which kind of makes me think that's why they made the ACC championship. And uh, the schedule is pretty easy this year too, but a little bit tougher. Last year, they avoided both Florida State and Clemson, and they do have a pretty tough non-conference schedule, but no tougher than last year's. It's the same, really. They play Kentucky, uh, which they always play them. And then they were playing Notre Dame, who they also played last year. Uh, Kentucky on the road is going to be really tough for Louisville to be able to win. And Kentucky's been their owner recently, beating them five times in a row, I think. And then uh, I know they beat Notre Dame last year, but this time it's on the road. And Notre Dame, I'm saying, could be a top 10 team. Uh, and Louisville, I don't think they're anywhere near top 10. They may be decent again because they added in a whole bunch of transfers. Uh, and they get to start uh, the season with two easy games in the non-conference against Austin P and Jacksonville State. They shouldn't have any problem with either one of those. And then they take a week off before starting their conference schedule against Georgia Tech. So this isn't really a horrible time for a week off, but not really the best because Georgia Tech, I think, will be a tough game for Louisville, but it is at home, and also it's not like they've played anyone really tough at this point that they need to recover from. Georgia Tech, uh, I don't think will be as good as Louisville probably, and Louisville should beat them. And then Next in the conference, they play SMU. So SMU is now in the Power Four, joining the ACC this year, and uh, they're new to uh, the Power Four. Uh, but I think SMU is going to be better than a lot of these ACC teams this year. They were one of the best teams that wasn't in the Power Four last season. Mm, so I think this will be a tough one for Louisville, but should be a win. Uh, mm, and then they played Virginia on the road, so this uh, is a game that Louisville really badly needs to win. Virginia's terrible, but Louisville lost to Pittsburgh last year, who was about as bad as Virginia was, so they could lose to Virginia. Uh, I think, because it's not like Louisville is going to be so much different this year than they were last year. And then they play Miami at home. This will be tough, but Louisville will have a really good chance, especially with home field advantage, to win this one. Uh, and then they play Boston College on the road uh, on Friday. That'll probably be Friday night. And those Friday road games are tough to win. Now, Boston College, they don't have much of a home field advantage, and they're not that good of a team. But still, this is the kind of game that Louisville will have to be careful in. Uh, and Boston College almost upset Florida State last year when Florida State still had Jordan Travis. Florida State went over there and only beat them by 2 points. I don't think Louisville is going to be as good as Florida State was then. Uh, and then next they play Clemson on the road, so that's tough after playing a road game, having to play another road game, and this time in Death Valley, one of the toughest places to play in college football. Uh, and Clemson, I think, has probably got a better roster than Louisville does. And they almost never lose in Death Valley. So I kind of think right now that this will probably be a loss for Louisville, but it's not like it's a game they couldn't win. Uh, and then they take a week off before playing Stanford on the road. So 3 games in a row on the road, but they get a week off in between. And not really the best time, other than it being a third road game in a row for Louisville to take their second week off, because Stanford really has no home field advantage, and they're horrible like Virginia is. Uh, so Louisville needs to win that one. And then they play Pittsburgh in a revenge game, as crazy as it sounds. And they should win. Uh, they really need to. If they're wanting to get to the ACC championship again. Mm, now I'll move on to the point spread prediction. Mm, so if you want to see more about how I do point spreads, you can watch my Ohio State video. Uh, I explain it more in that. But games in the green are games where I think Louisville will be favored to win by a blowout. So that's 20 or more points. And there's 2 of those. Austin P and Jacksonville State. And then games in the purple are games where I think they'll be favored to win by about a touchdown, so 6 to 9 points. And there's 5 of those: Georgia Tech, Virginia, Boston College, Stanford, and Pittsburgh. Mm, And the games in the pink are games where I think they'll be favored to win by about a field goal, so 1 to 5 points. And there's 2 of those: SMU and Miami. Uh, and games in the gray are games where I think Louisville will be about a field goal underdog, so 1 to 5 points. And there's 3 of those: Notre Dame, Clemson, and Kentucky. Uh, so Austin P and Jacksonville State, Louisville should be favored in both of those by 30 something points. and Georgia Tech. I think Louisville will be about a 6 point favorite in that game because of home field advantage. It'd be in the pink if it was a road game. Mm, and Virginia, I think Louisville will be about a 9 point favorite in that one. And that would be in the blue if it was a home game for Louisville, which means they'd be a double digit favorite. And then Boston College, I think Louisville will be about a 6 point favorite over them. And Stanford, think that one, the spread will be about 9 points, kind of like uh, Virginia. Uh, it would be in the uh, blow if it was a home game. And Pittsburgh, I think the spread in that one will probably be about 7 points. And SMU, uh, I think Louisville will probably be about a 5 point favorite in that game. That's really close to being in the purple. I thought about putting it in the purple. Mm, and Miami, I think Louisville will be about a 3 point favorite in that game because they have home field advantage. Mm, and Notre Dame, I think, will be favored by 3 or 4 points against Louisville because it is at Notre Dame, and I think Notre Dame will be a little better than Louisville this year. And then Clemson, I think, will be favored by 4 or 5 against Louisville. Mm, and Kentucky, the spread in that one will probably be around 3 points. Mm, so that will be it with this video, and please subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.